Peace and love to everyone everywhere. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of NBA Accent, where two Lithuanian dudes sit down to discuss all things NBA through the lens or through the eye of a European basketball fan. So alongside me, I have Mykolas Jankaitis. How are you doing, Mykolas?
Oh, I'm doing quite adequately and quite enjoying the enjoyed first round of the playoffs, and beginning of the second round was like quite anticlimactic, I would say. Too many injuries, too much injuries. The amount of injuries is too damn high, and I hate that. But I quite liked the quality of basketball actually overall in the first round. Especially there was I enjoyed the brief hope that Toronto Raptors generated to me, and of course dwell in even more agony when I thought what would have happened if Joel Embiid would have not made that ridiculous shot. The Jazz meltdown that's coming up in the podcast and in the summer, and
this summer.
Yes, you thought they couldn't have any worse than they have right now.
The long-awaited meltdown begins.
Yeah, it would be actually an amazing trailer, you know, the starting like with Rudy Gobert touching the microphones and then all the articles. Yeah, but that's coming up. And I really enjoy intense Warriors. The Grizzlies Timberwolves matchup made no sense, and still the series was really amazing. So it was quite a good first round. And how do you feel?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would agree to most of the points, it was a first round. Well, there were only a few series where I found it hard to even generate interest in them. Yeah, like Heat Hawks or Bucks Bulls, especially. That one was just, well, come on, you just go.
You know, this series will be like after 10 years when we talk about Bucks or Giannis legacy, or maybe Nikola Vucevic, for example, you know, and we will talk about the series he had while playing for Orlando Magic, and then, you know, he played for the Bulls for the series against Bucks. What's a bit foreshadowing that I think he if it's possible, will be traded before upcoming season. So
I wouldn't be surprised as well. But I guess we should really stick to what's going on
Nikola
right now.
Vucevic,
And
yes.
Nikola Vucevic, we could spend 20 minutes talking about trade destinations for Nikola Vucevic. That would actually be a fun topic for another day. But tonight we are sat here in Vilnius to discuss first and foremost the conference semifinals that have already begun a couple of days ago. We are recording this on the 3rd of May, so all four series have only one game played at the time, the very first game that happened in this stage of the playoffs was the Boston Celtics hosting the Milwaukee Bucks and losing home court advantage in the first game already. And I was a little bit pissed because I was asking myself, like, after the Boston-Brooklyn series, like, did I really overrate the Nets or did I really underrate the Celtics?
Yeah, it's like a chicken egg question.
Yeah, but I came up with came out of these of this thought process thinking to myself that the Celtics are, well, come on, they have had this incredible defense since 23rd of January or some trivial date like that, but they were basically just smothering everyone up, and they just beat the team with two of the biggest offensive talents that we have ever seen play basketball. But when they faced the Milwaukee Bucks in the first game, all of a sudden you start to realize that, but the Brooklyn Nets didn't really have any rim protection.
Yeah, as I said, during our Lithuanian podcast, that Celtics look amazing. They look right now like the best team in the playoffs, but we have no idea how they will look like against the good defense. And there are some good defenses in the East. And you talked about rim protection. Well, Bucks probably have the best rim protection I've ever seen. Honestly,
quite possibly.
If we could dwell down to the history of the NBA a bit, we had Detroit Pistons. But I mean,
204.
Yeah, 204, not 215.
With Andre Drummond and Greg Monroe and
Stanley
Josh
Jackson.
Smith.
But
Stanley Johnson, but he came up
Stanley
a bit later.
Johnson,
A bit later.
You know the series I'm talking about, yes? The one that Detroit got swept by Cleveland, and everybody talked, well, they fought in every game, and etc., etc. Well, you automatically think about Twin Tower Spurs, Duncan Robinson, Tim Duncan, and David Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, you were right.
Yes,
the first
I was
time,
right.
But yeah,
where did I make the mistake? But I actually haven't seen them playing that much. Just like two amazing centers. Tim Duncan, one of the best defensive players I've ever seen. And something like that. Then. Someone mentioned the Kevin Garnett Boston Celtics, with Kendrick Perkins and just Kevin Garnett itself. But actually, this Bucks defense, like they have probably top 5 rim protectors in the NBA in the one starting 5. Like Giannis.
Two of the top 5.
Yes, two of the top 5. Sorry, Giannis is immense, and Brook Lopez was. Like the back surgery, we've seen a lot of careers derailed by back injuries, and it wasn't like he looked completely healthy, Brook Lopez.
Yeah, I mean, the Boston Celtics finished the game having made 10 two-pointers.
And all of them were near the basket. None of them were in the mid-range. Like it was completely.
But that is tied for the second lowest amount of made two-pointers in NBA playoff history. Well, yeah, I mean, it's like the whole revolution of the game, the whole emphasizing that 3 is worth more than 2. Yeah, that's quite a recent development. But still, in the history of the playoffs, there has been only one game where somebody made less than 10 two-pointers. I have no idea who was that, but that's still, and that's really signifying the way the Bucks defense completely shut down Boston. I mean, they finished the game with 89 points playing at home. And Jason Tatum looked mortal. Jaylen Brown looked even more mortal.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown looked bad.
Yeah,
honestly, and
I mean, he might be struggling after an injury, but the physicality that the Bucks brought, the way they all played, I mean, just the Nets had none of it.
No.
Just not a single bit, and that's why the Celtics looked like this dominant force. Jason Tatum looked like Jamorantish in a way of just his physical advantage over, it seemed, everybody. And now they're facing a completely different beast, and this beast just proved that nothing's gonna come easy. And a lot of experts still consider the Celtics to be the favorites of the series. Would you agree?
I if Bucks would have had Middleton, I would have guessed Bucks in 6. They don't, however, so
I'll go Bucks in 5.
My guess before the series was Celtics in 7. Bucks weren't they looked amazing on the defensive end, but on the offensive end, they had a lot of issues creating good shots. They just made quite a few mid-range jumpers, which basically leaped them over Boston Celtics in this game. So I don't think at all that it was the game that Milwaukee Bucks just showed Boston Celtics that, whoa, we are much better than you. You know what this game kind of remind me of? It remind me of Milwaukee Bucks last year swept Miami Heat. Everyone said that it was maybe not swept, but won easily against Miami Heat. Everyone said that it should be most interesting first round series. Well, it wasn't. And then they're playing against Brooklyn Nets, and Nets are like dominating them in the first couple of games. They needed time to adjust. Like from it's opposite. Boston Celtics needs to adjust from really bad defense to really good defense. Milwaukee Bucks needed to adjust from really bad offense to really good offense. So it reminded me of that. And of course, Boston Celtics needs to find the ways to finish or create foul opportunities around the rim, because Robert Williams and Al Horford aren't doing that. Marcus Smart, he's not doing that,
and he's injured now.
Yeah, but he's not out.
Yeah, he's either questionable or probable. One of those. I'm not 100% sure right now.
And so Derek White needs to step up, and player that will get most slack if he'll be continuing playing like he did in first game is Jaylen Brown. You need to show up more offensively, and of course, yes, Jaylen Brown needs to step up, but you need to make more plays to Tatum. I think much more pick and rolls, trying to attack, switch out on Grayson Allen whenever he's on the court, or Pat Connaughton, whoever was not Giannis or Drew Holiday or Brook Lopez.
Yeah, I mean, they tried, but the way Milwaukee set up their defense was that being able to switch in the pick and rolls initiated by Jason Tatum. So that really, the Celtics need to make an adjustment for that. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined went for 32% field goal percentage in the first game. That's the worst number in their respective careers, or just in this whole double career. And yeah, there's another question. I mean, Giannis went for 9 from 25.
Yeah, he had really bad scoring game and really amazing passing game.
Yeah, and he was the best player on the court.
He was the best player on the court. Is he the best player in the world right now? Our head of this podcast,
yes, I mean,
asked this question.
Yeah, I would say so, because we can talk about like who would you compare him with? That's basically just Nikola Jokic at the moment, or maybe Joel Embiid. Yeah, the 3 finalists for the MVP award. And yeah, I mean, Giannis is just unstoppable, and also he's an immovable object
on offense as Nikola Jokic, but his defensive presence is immense. You can, like, he gives you so much as a help defender. We're glow about how good Robert Williams is, and he was good in this game too, but like Giannis is basically that plus more on the defensive end. He's like the way he and Brook Lopez impact shots, even like if they are not counted as blocked or something, how many shots just aren't taken because of his presence. It's really incredible. And of course, I really liked Drew Holiday performance too.
Oh yeah, Drew Holiday, the way I saw it in this game, it looked as if Drew Holiday came out with a mentality of, oh, so you're the defensive player of the year? Well, let's dance. Let's see what happens. And it feels as if he has this extra motivation of like, ooh, he became the first guard to win the award since Gary Payton, as if there was nobody even close, like defending on the perimeter. And Drew Holiday is close. Drew Holiday is a bulldog.
Actually, it's amazing question. I would rather have defensively Drew Holiday than Marcus Smart.
Yeah,
I think Drew Holiday gives you, well, on good defensive team, as we talked before, Marcus Smart can give you that oomph, that mentality boost.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't believe I ever heard anybody like use the word oomph in like basketball podcast context. So that's amazing.
Thank you. But like on a calculated, pragmatic team, I think the talents of Drew Holiday on the defensive end are really, really valuable. Also, he's really good on offense, so that you cannot bring a bad defensive and good offensive player on him. So that also kind of makes your defense better by other team not being able to play their best offensive lineup against him. And really, the point, if you compare, for example, the way Utah Jazz defense and Milwaukee Bucks defense, both of them have amazing rim protectors, and just Rudy Gobert always needs to come back to the paint because Donovan Mitchell is non-existent on the defensive end. Jordan Clarkson is non-existent, and basically no one cannot defend on the perimeter, and opponents like Jalen Brunson blew by his defendant every single time, and you just not doing that against Drew Holiday.
Absolutely. And
so if we come back to the Boston Celtics, like as I said, they haven't played the bad game. They offensively it was atrocious, but defensively they really showed that they have a plan, and the plan against Giannis is quite decent. Al Horford is like perimeter version of Marc Gasol. You just cannot play against him. He's amazing defensively. He's really strong. He's really crafty. It's outstanding how old and how good he is on the defensive end. And having Al Horford allows you to Robert Williams come to help to defend Giannis whenever he's basically plowed through the defense of Al Horford. And Robert Williams had really good shows on the defensive end.
Yeah, just Al Horford made me smile the first time, then chuckle the second time, and laugh out loud the third time. But
yeah, sorry, Al.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, Al doesn't mind as far as he's outstandingly old and crafty. So yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I expected more out of Boston Celtics, I mean, we're talking after the first game of the series, which is like the best scenario to just go on some hot takes and really just get the impression about the series absolutely wrong. But I did expect more because they feel as if they will probably the roster that is constructed the best for containing Giannis. Because they have a lot of defenders that they can throw at him. They have, like from Al Horford to Grant Williams to Robert Williams to Daniel Tice to Jason Tatum. I mean, there is a lot of, like, a broad choice. And you can rotate him and you can, try to wear him out by constantly sending a fresh guy at him. I mean, heck, you could, like, press him for, like, the entire 48 minutes. I mean, when they have the ball. But... yeah, that was, I mean, they forced the ball out of his hands. He missed plenty of shots. As I said, 9 of 25. But he still, I mean, a decent amount of those shots was just him missing. It wasn't that the Celtics, like, created some sort of an obstacle that he couldn't overcome. There were episodes and moments where he simply missed. Not because the opponent forced him to, but because he just missed.
Yeah, he missed quite a few those fadeaway jumpers near the post, that he's grown quite fond of during the past years. So yeah, a lot of misses just around the paint, but that was... I think Boston had something to do with it. I have no idea how this will go forward, but I think...
I think he will be making... If I had to guess, 9 out of 25, that is a 36% field goal percentage. I would say that this was the worst or like the lowest that Giannis will get throughout this series. I don't believe that he will be shooting this or worse throughout Anything from 4 to 7 games, however this turns out.
Do you think Bucks need to adjust something offensively, or they just Giannis will make more shots and that's it?
Giannis will make more shots. I mean, it's even tough to say. I mean, they played only 8 players basically up until garbage time. They even had Javon Carter having the highest plus minus on the team. I mean, the man made an impact, and he was waived by the Brooklyn Nets this season. Like, they needed such players as Javon Carter, and it's not even the punchline. The punchline is he had a 2-year deal. Next season, the Brooklyn Nets, paying the luxury tax and stuff, will be paying additional $3.9 million to Javon Carter for not playing for the Brooklyn Nets.
It's really
surreal. It's just, what on earth are you doing?
Yeah, the Brooklyn Nets made quite a few head-scratching decisions. The waiving of Bembry was really weird
but
too.
The Bucks picked him up as well, and the Bucks waived him too. So,
Javon Carter played 21 minutes plus 25, and he's 26 years old, and it's he looks as old as Al Horford while he's playing. But really, I always liked him since his first year in Memphis. He always looked like that one.
Didn't he start in Phoenix though?
I remember him at Memphis. I don't know if it was his first or second year, but he was
it was. You're right.
Really tight on the perimeter defense. You know, that Jose Alvarado type, as I think. So, of course, those minutes are when Middleton isn't playing are really important. Well, basically, Serge Ibaka so far he's not figuring in Milwaukee's rotation, and against a smaller team like Milwaukee, like Boston, it's quite logical. So Grayson Allen, Javon Carter, and Pat Connaughton, free guards. Making the main rotation and giving a lot of good minutes is really important for Milwaukee.
How will this series go? I mean, the viewers will already see this episode after the second game, or like the listeners will hear it in the same time span. So, all of them know a bit more than we know right now.
Well, I've always, as further playoff series are going, I even more loath to guess about them, and I definitely not feeling strong. But I think that Boston Celtics should be able to win Game 2. I don't think, just maybe make some more plays to get Tatum on the worst offensive players. That's on the worst defensive players like Grayson Allen, Pat Connaughton, Javonte Carter, or Bobby Portis when they're Javon Carter. Sorry. And I don't know. Maybe you need to maybe not play. Risk of not playing 2 of the Al Horford and Robert Williams, and try to exploit the Brook Lopez on the perimeter, stretch him out, because right now it's really hard for them to on the offensive end when Robert Williams always is under the basket. So
clogs the lane.
So you have Giannis helping from the weak side, and Brook Lopez already standing there, and Drew Holiday contesting as a main defender. Sometimes it's impossible to score. But definitely Milwaukee changed in the way I view the series in some way. The really strong game, the really good defense, and I'm not feeling as strong about my guess as I did before the series, of course. What do you think will happen?
Before the series, I said that the Celtics are going to sweep the Bucks. That's how confident I was in them. And after the first game, talk about overreactions. I feel as if the Bucks have all the chances to sweep the Celtics. So, it's the widest possible amplitude of like emotional feeling about something that is going to happen. But
and I also want to just chip in that sometimes we give too much weight to the predictions rather than just talking about what's happening, what happened, why it happened, because a lot of things can change in the series because the smartest guys are coaching them, those teams, and they are just throwing different plays, different rotations, and that changes
you
a lot.
never know about the injuries, for example.
Yes, and maybe Luka Vildoza will play some, and if you figure in game 5, a lot of things can happen.
So prediction time, will Luka Vildoza play in the series?
Not in garbage minutes, no.
Okay, so let's jump from the east to the west for a moment, and we'll keep on doing these interconferential skips throughout this episode. We saw the game 1 between the Phoenix Suns and the Dallas Mavericks, and we saw Luka Doncic dropping 45 points on the heads of fools who tried to stop him that night, but that turned out to be not enough, as the Phoenix Suns have won the first game. And apparently, from what I saw and from the way they approached it, it seems that the Suns are just ready to let Luka drop 50 or 60 or however many he wants, just to cut off everybody else, because for the second time in his career, Luka Doncic outscored the other 4 members of the starting 5 of the Dallas Mavericks combined, and Spencer Dinwiddie, coming off the bench, was also just isolated and locked out of the game. No double teams, or like just a few, and basically they went, you want to beat us by yourself, go ahead, be our guest, as we will just play a different type of offense, have many more contributors to the offense, and that proved to be the correct strategy in the opening game.
Yeah, it was much more much easier win for Phoenix Suns than scoreline suggests. They were really dominating the game, like 12-10 point lead throughout the most second half, and only at the end of the game, mainly because Suns tried to avoid the tragic scenario of Mavericks coming back, so they basically denied threes as much as possible. So that's why Mavs got a few easy 2s, and the scoreline looks like, well, it was tight game. It wasn't. The Luka Doncic played 44 minutes, Chris Paul played 28 minutes, Mikal Bridges played 42, the most of any Suns player. Devin Booker played 38 minutes, so it suggests you that Phoenix had much easier and more maintained game than Dallas Mavericks. And I agree with your point about Phoenix Suns not going crazy about Luka Doncic, but that doesn't change the fact that Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock missed quite a few open 3-point shots, and you just cannot have that if you're Dallas Mavericks against Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, they basically have to put up a perfect performance in game 2 to have any chance of tying it up. And the Suns were the favorites coming into the series. The Suns were the favorites of the playoffs coming into the playoffs, so no surprise there. But 45. And at the moment, I just want to check to be sure, but Luka Doncic has already played in 17 games in the playoffs in his career, and his average at the moment is 33.4 points per game, which is tied with Michael Jordan for the highest such number in NBA history. In the second place is Allen Iverson with 29. So it's there have been only 2 basketball players who averaged at least 30 points in the playoffs for their careers, and one of them is still playing, and the other is considered to be the greatest basketball player of all time. So a very impressive start, even though it has already been 3 seasons and 3 playoff runs. Now it's the first time that Luka got out of the first round, but the tempo that he has set is just absolutely incredible, and the point average is beyond belief, and
the play quality is also really amazing. Just you could see that he looked absolutely gassed in the fourth quarter. He was basically just walking in some attacks, and that Luka Doncic walking was still best player on the court at some points. But
but he has. I'm sorry to interrupt, but he has said it himself that like, I have no problem playing like 45 minutes like in the playoffs, and one of the reasons that he named was the crazy length of timeout. Because it's basically, in Europe you get a minute. That's it. That's the timeout. We even called it like a minute break in Lithuanian language.
Yeah.
In the NBA, the national TV timeouts are basically 3 minutes. So, there is much more like breathing room and just
much
way more
fouls
chances.
And, But when you play much more,
at a much higher pace. Yes.
Yeah, and Luka can say that he has no problem playing 45 minutes, but you can see that he's reserving himself during the actual live play minutes, because it's normal, like heliocentric players like him does that. It's LeBron does that, but I think for Dallas to have a chance in this series, right now it's clear that he needs to be able to up his tempo, to make more plays in transition, and just that way because Phoenix is like really well set up team. And when they played against Pelicans, I thought, maybe they're not so good defensively. Well, they are good defensively, just Pelicans are much better offensively than I thought. And one player that's much better defensively than I thought, and he's proving me wrong every season, is Devin Booker. Even like 2 years ago, you would have said me, who's the better player defensively, Mitchell or Booker?
Oh yeah, we would have went for Donovan Mitchell a couple of years ago.
Because of the like perception of him, he looks
the
like
reputation,
strong, athletic, but Booker is much better defensively as a team defender, but as a one-on-one defender too. Jalen Brunson had his way, like everyone talking about Jalen Brunson, how he's like he's come to the stardom in the series against Utah Jazz. I'm not saying that Jalen Brunson is a bad player, no. But when he's playing against competent perimeter defender, it's much harder for him.
He had 13 points on 16 shots. And I believe that this year we definitely will not see Jalen Brunson dropping 41 again or getting even close. Because, you got to be facing, it just exposed the defense of the Utah Jazz. And, This is a different series, and absolutely,
but even if they win this series, unless Memphis win the other semifinal, maybe if Ja Morant is guarding you, he's also quite bad at the defense. Maybe then, But of course, it seems right now quite unlikely that both of these teams, underdogs, would win the semifinal.
Well, Memphis Grizzlies were technically the higher seeded team, and they opened the second round series or the conference semifinals at home against the Golden State Warriors. But once again, as it was with the Boston Celtics and Milwaukee Bucks, it's the same thing with this matchup where the home team loses the first game, and you play the entire season to get a home court advantage, like as much as you can, as far as you can down the road. And then whack, you just lose it in the first game, and it was a painful loss. They lost on a missed layup by Ja Morant, even though the setup was beautiful. The attack itself was really, really well done, but and that was probably the most beautiful and one of the most humane things that I ever seen watching the NBA. It was Klay Thompson missing 2 free throws at the end of the fourth quarter, and then the Grizzlies call timeout. They set up, they do the Brandon Clark sort of handoff, and Klay Thompson is just like, he realizes really early that Brandon Clark ain't gonna do nothing in this attack, and he just repositions himself to catch up with the drive of Ja Morant, and it was Klay Thompson who basically forced Ja to miss. And after that, the entire Warriors team is going like, yeah, like everyone's celebrating, and Klay Thompson is just walking past the camera, and when you can hear some of the things that the players say, and he's just facing the other baskets that they were attacking just now, and he's going, yeah, fuck them free throws, yeah, like
fuck that was free throws indeed.
That was just such a not even a comeback moment, but when you do something stupid and you are able to fix it in just a matter of seconds.
I completely understand what you're talking about. When you just make something like, oh fuck, that was thank God nothing bad happened.
So that was really just beautiful. I mean, pardon my language, but that's what NBA players are saying, and they get paid way more than we do.
Yeah, and Memphis Grizzlies wasted quite decent Ja Morant 3-point shooting performance, although he was really hot at the beginning of the game and went colder later. Jaren Jackson had 6 3-pointers of 9 attempts and 33 points overall.
Yeah, when you say 6 about Jaren Jackson, I always think about fouls.
Yeah,
but
he only had 3 of them. So it's and Dillon Brooks was the one that almost fouled out with 5 of them.
But Dillon Brooks has played 7 playoff games already, and in those 7 games there were 4 where his field goal percentage was lower than 30%, and this was one of those games, 3 out of 13.
I actually think they should trade him.
I mean, I think that he's coming back after an injury, and he's obviously not in top physical condition or top game shape.
Yeah, just you have Ja Morant, of course, centerpiece of your team, and then Desmond Bain. He looks more and more as a capable shot creator himself.
But though he didn't in the
he didn't.
This last game,
Desmond Bain didn't look as a piece of shit offensively, and but he's really good. Nobody's arguing with that overall. And Dillon Brooks to me looked like too much destructive force on the offensive end for Memphis team. Of course, they lost by only 1 point, but they lost on only 1 point on the game where Draymond Green played only 17 minutes. Curry shot 8 of 20. Klay Thompson shot 6 of 19, and Andrew Wiggins was like probably second best player. Fourth best player of that team, and he also scored only 6 of 14. But the player I want to talk most about is not Jordan Poole, is Gary Payton II.
Okay,
he was incredible. Like, that's basically it, but but no, like the way he defended, the decision to start him, I think was really nice, because the intensity he provides, the athleticism, it's cliche, but he's the definitely biggest 6'3" guard I've ever seen. He plays like a center at the defense. Even it's really amazing that this player was found for nothing, and he's delivering in the important playoff games, and I have no idea what they're going to do with him in off season. I don't know if they have early bird rights or something like that, but it will be basically impossible to retain him.
Unless he takes like a bargain deal to stay with the team, especially if they go far in the playoffs. And yeah, Jordan Poole is another of the players with whom the Warriors must decide what to do in the upcoming months and years. He's not going to become a free agent this summer. He has a team option for 1 more year. But yeah, they already can start the negotiations. They can agree to an extension already this summer. And it is a question, like, what should they do? Because on one hand, you can wait because he would become a restricted free agent. You would have the right to match any offer. On the other hand, if he keeps on playing like this, I mean, he already is in the like Jalen Brunson salary range at the moment.
I think the same teams would go for Jalen Brunson and Jordan Poole, but it is possible that Jordan Poole would get a bigger bag. And I believe that at least the way I look at Warriors and the way they showed about their money, how they treat their money, I think they will pay Jordan Poole. They definitely will sign the contract. If they will trade him or not, I don't know. But basically, if you don't sign him, it's gone money. You cannot take a free agent with that amount of money. You just need to... If you believe that this deal still makes him a positive asset, so that the one you could trade afterwards or etc., you should do that most definitely. With Gary Payton II, I'm really sure that he won't take that team-friendly mid-level exception or something like that. If there will be a team that pays him more, like 10 or something million per year, because he's 29 years old and he never had a guaranteed NBA contract. So I think he will use that.
I think he had,
multi-year
deal.
Yeah.
That likely not.
So I think he rightly will use these playoffs as a trampoline to his one and only one check. Maybe he will have a not resurgence, but just a late blooming in NBA, the same way quite similar player had, like PJ Tucker. He also got his first decent contract, I think, when he was like 32 or something like that. So
he played in Germany for quite some time.
Yeah. So if Gary Payton maintains his excellence at the defensive end, we will see him for some time more. But he was really good at this game.
Well, we have the last conference semifinal. The Philadelphia 76ers facing the Miami Heat. And in the first game, the Miami Heat, after the halftime, just rolled over Philadelphia. And a lot of questions, a lot of points of discussion in this series as well. Well, first of all, Philadelphia 76ers, of course, are playing without Joel Embiid, who had his face broken, basically.
Orbital
something. Broken, so he will miss at least the second game as well. And the Philadelphia 76ers went with DeAndre Jordan in the starting five. He played 17 minutes. He was minus 22 in those 17 minutes. And to sort of already get in front of some of the things, Doc Rivers, after the game, said that, and that's a direct quote, he said, "We are going to keep starting DeAndre Jordan whether you like it or not."
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah, it is.
Is Paul Millsap worse against Miami Heat than DeAndre Jordan? I understand that Paul Reed is, of course, better player. Even Doc Rivers acknowledges that because he played Paul Reed against Toronto. Well, we probably thought I will play DeAndre Jordan for, I call it Kem Birch or role, that basically center that starts the game gets two first quick fouls, because usually at the beginning of the game those whistles of the referees are more on alert, and those fouls happen quicker, and then you just sit him down and play Paul Reed. But Paul Reed got 5 fouls himself in just 13 minutes. So basically you were left with small ball choices, but I still think that you should at least try to play Paul Millsap. He's much smarter than
Doc
DeAndre
Rivers
Jordan.
said that he was sort of thinking about it, like after the first half, when you get the second half starters, and that his players, that the players really love DeAndre Jordan, and they really wanted to see DeAndre Jordan like playing. So
You know who players also love? Like they love Russell Westbrook. They love Avery Bradley. Does that mean that they should play in the major minutes in the playoffs? No, come on, you're the coach.
Come on,
It's
yeah,
just
this-
like blame
this-
shifting.
this is not Brooklyn. You will not get fired if you don't start DeAndre Jordan,
Yeah,
as Kenny Atkinson may tell you. So yeah, this was like kind of mind-boggling, and not the fact that it happened, but the sort of the response to it, the public response is just, well, you're not picking the right words there, I don't believe, but hey,
No, it's,
whatever works. But
like-
it didn't work.
He had a like redeeming series against Toronto where he proved that he's able to get his team together, get their grip together, and just close out the series when the pressure is increasing exponentially every game. And then, of course, like Joel Embiid injury, nobody is expecting, like, this result is completely logical. Like, no one was surprised that Miami Heat won the first game, but just you see that DeAndre Jordan is not working. He's bad on the drop coverage, he's bad he's impossible on the switch coverage. Like, he's non-existent defensively, he's barely useful offensively, and there was much more other problems to tackle too, but because you have DeAndre Jordan, you will need to solve this first, and you just could have moved that out of the way because you know that this won't work. You won't win with DeAndre Jordan on the floor. Throwing Georges Niang, throwing Matisse Thybulle, throwing Charles Bassey, like they can play with those players, you know, and experiment, and maybe something will click. You have basically free pass because you see especially at the second half when the Heat just started rolling over them. And you mentioned the approach that Phoenix Suns applied to defending Luka Doncic. Well, Miami Heat applied the same approach to James Harden, just with much more success because PJ Tucker maintained James Harden easily, and actually a lot of other players maintained James Harden quite easily, and there was no players in the Philadelphia 76ers that scored more than one three-pointer except James Harden in that game. Georges Niang, excellent three-point shooter, 0 from 7. Tyrese Maxey, 1 from 6. Where you were this Tyrese Maxey in Toronto series. Tobias Harris, 1 from 4. Danny Green also played amazing against Toronto, 1 from 5. So this is, of course, the low-hanging fruit for Philadelphia. But for them to make those shots, James Harden needs to be much, much more aggressive. And just to be able to beat PJ Tucker one-on-one, for crying out loud.
No, but I don't even believe that it's necessarily sort of dictated by the lack of aggression. I believe that James Harden is just physically
Incapable.
not the same player that we were used to seeing in Houston. Because his quickness is not the same. His first step is not the same. He doesn't create separation as easily when trying to blow by anyone. His verticality is not the same. He's just struggling when he gets under the rim if he's driving the basketball, and just if he doesn't get to shoot free throws, his productivity is just considerably lower than it was like 2 or 3 years ago. So I don't even know if you can expect much more of him in this series, even before Joel Embiid comes back. It's hard to really like find ways that Philadelphia can at least like hold serve in the third game if Joel Embiid isn't playing.
I think one of the main to-dos for Philadelphia and Doc Rivers, besides finding alternative to something instead of playing DeAndre Jordan, is find a ways to attack Tyler Hero, so he wouldn't be as comfortable while being on the court, because Miami really, really needs him when they don't have Kyle Lowry. Their offense looks quite bad actually without him on the floor. Jimmy Butler was contained actually quite well. If you count that basic Philadelphia basically had no rim protectors on the floor. Bam Adebayo, well, he had 24 points plus 26, but he won't win you the game by himself. He needs other perimeters players to play together with, and Tyler Hero is one of them. He's giving a boost while keeping going from the bench, and Philadelphia right now has no ideas how to exploit him defensively. And you have Tyrese Maxey, you have James Harden, you have even Tobias Harris that can play with the ball in his hands, and actually besides like not hitting a three-pointer, more than one three-pointer, had a really good game against Philadelphia. So you need to find the ways to attack Tyler Hero. So so Miami would react.
Joel Embiid had mentioned this before, but now it appears that Joel Embiid actually already began the process of acquiring French nationality and the ability to represent the French basketball team in international tournaments. How do you feel about that? And did you find that surprising? Did you find that frustrating? Did you find that amusing? Or how did this stick with you?
Well, definitely not frustrating. I don't think that. I think that protection of nationality as a concept is like way too overblown, especially in Lithuania. If a person wants to be English or etc., and a party that represents being English, like England, accepts you and wants you to be English, I don't see where the problem is. This is like nationality is not ethnicity. It's basically agreed upon concept that, you are Lithuanian and you can be Lithuanian because you were born here. You are not right now French, Joel Embiid, but you can be French because of the reasons. I really don't think and in basketball sense, well, yes, maybe I wouldn't like that, but you have Bo McCallum playing for Macedonia, and this is much...
Wow, that's a reference. Every Lithuanian knows why you sort of came up with Bo McCallum playing for Macedonia, of all people. But to our foreign listeners, it might be like, Bo McCallum? Who the hell is Bo McCallum?
And you also have Serge Ibaka playing for Spain, and
Nikola Mirotic as well.
Yes, I always thought that Serge Ibaka grew up in Spain. Well, no, he didn't. He grew up in Congo, and why he's not playing for Congo, but it's quite easy to understand why he's not playing for Congo, because the country imprisoned the regime imprisoned his father for during the civil war, I believe. So it's quite easy to understand why you're not playing for your country. For Joel, I don't know. It's I'm starting rambling and repeating myself. So basically, I find it amusing, of course, because to meet Joel Embiid in European Championship rather than just in Olympics with hobbled Cameroon squad, much more interesting. I don't find it frustrating at all. And the third, I don't remember what was the third. But basically, it surprises me. Yes, you asked if it was surprising. I didn't know the prehistory, so it was quite surprising.
Yeah, it was. He had already mentioned that a few years ago. I don't remember. Was it maybe even 5 or so? And back then I was like, well, damn, because I do find this a little bit frustrating. And one of the reasons why is because I would really love to see a fun and easy to root for African basketball national team, because I grew up watching football World Cups, for example, and Cameroon was specifically the team that you always, like, as a kid, I fucking loved Cameroon, man. They had these fun, like, outfits with, like, green, red, and gold, with the golden socks and red shorts. So they looked a little bit like our flag, with just, the colors are in a different order. They would always, like, celebrate goals with these, like, crazy dances and shit. They were just really, really fun to root for. And there goes a chance to have a fun and easy to root for Cameroonian national basketball team playing in the World Cups or in the Olympics, like with Joel Embiid and Pascal Siakam. That, at least that duo, I really wanted to see it, like, on an international stage representing Cameroon. But yeah, I cannot speak like as 100% because I don't know the situation. Maybe the basketball federation is just corrupt beyond, like,
Actually, there's a lot of problems with sports federations
reason.
in
In
Africa,
Africa,
even
yeah.
in football. And
Yes.
football is way more important in Africa. You're talking with Senegalese football team fan. What I find frustrating, though, as a Senegalese national football team fan, Leroy Sané, the football player. He played for Manchester City, now is playing for Bayern
Germany.
Munich. Yes. His father represented the Senegal national team. He even was a captain for a few matches. And he played in Germany. Leroy Sané was born in Germany and he plays for Germany. Fuck. And like in Germany, he's one of the many, but of course that's much more logical because he grew up in the academy and etc. But this is frustrating for me because I'm a fan of Senegal team. If I was fan of the Cameroon team, yes, I would be frustrated too. But there wasn't any was there even attempt of Joel Embiid playing for Cameroon?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I've never heard about that, and I cannot really say that. I mean, maybe he sort of like politely declined the invitations or something, or maybe he just concentrated on his NBA career and didn't want to get distracted. And it also touches one more thing that, for example, for Cameroon to play in the Olympics, they gotta go to the qualifiers, and they will never have either Joel Embiid or Pascal Siakam because the qualifiers are set up at the same time as the NBA season, which is a problem that a lot of nations have these days because all of the the NBA or the EuroLeague do not stop their schedules to accommodate the FIBA qualifiers, and a lot of the teams really don't even get a chance to for example, the Latvians, I believe, didn't qualify for the past tournament, and it was because their best players are in the NBA and they cannot help the country qualify because the NBA won't let them go to the qualifiers, and it's just set up to fail. And in that case, Cameroon is a great example. They have two all NBA level talents. That's huge. For the qualifiers, I do believe that if you had those two players, well, you can have a pretty mediocre team. As it comes to the rest of the roster, you should be able to qualify from the African qualifying zone for the Olympics or for the World Cups. But because of the setup, it's just impossible. So in that case, I mean, for Joel Embiid, it's basically if you want to play in the World Cup or in the Olympics, it's either you choose France or you just never do that because the system is made in such a way that you cannot help the team qualify for these international tournaments. So it's, this on that, as we say here in Lithuania.
Well, it's two different outlooks from two different players of the Cameroon. Joel Embiid has never played for Cameroon, though the country has tried to get him to do so. And there's also an article posted by FIBA Basketball on 2020 about how Siakam just waiting for opportunity to play for Cameroon. So basically, just as I said, it's a personal relationship between two parties, one party being a player, other one country or federation of the basketball of certain country. And yes, I agree. Like if you would say that Richard Mbahomute will retire from playing basketball, will come back from playing to play, and you also have Pascal Siakam and Joel Embiid in the Olympics. I wouldn't miss a single game of that. But there wasn't chance of that. Right now we have a chance of him playing in the Olympics of 2024, I believe. No. Yes, 2024.
Yeah. Yes, because the 2020 got postponed. Yeah,
and
that's why it messed up in
the other question is, so what do France do with Joel Embiid and Rudy Gobert?
If I have both of these players on my team, and if Rudy Gobert says, well, I don't want to come off the bench, then I would say, well, then okay, you can watch the tournament on your home from the sofa. Because, come on, that's not even a question. I mean, would they try to stick both of them like onto the same five? Maybe. Would that be like not detrimental to their chances? Probably not, because it's hard to put them both on the, like, have Joel Embiid playing power forward. It just, you sort of take a bit away from yourself by just such a decision, because you sort of cut off the abilities that he may just express as a center. So I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, to have two of those beasts on the floor at the same time, I think
they will definitely will try that. And as I remember, the France, like Rudy Gobert playing for the France, he's always like doing everything for that country to win. And I read somewhere, I don't know if it's credible article, so please do not quote me on that, but the player who's mostly against that is Ivan Fournier.
Oh, who doesn't want Joel Embiid?
He's the one, that sits on the couch and says he's not French. I'm French. He's not French, and but this
I sort of find that reasonable as well. I mean, why not? That's your position. That's the way you
position,
see it.
But I believe if that's really his position, then you would definitely figure out the way to play without Evan Fournier on your team.
No, I mean, would he not join the team if Joel Embiid was there? He would. He would be
actively, and that was not reacting to this news, but the news before, when Joel Embiid was vaguely talking about that. So I don't know what his outlook is right now when Joel Embiid is basically probably going to do that.
So this hot discussion, I believe, is a fine point to end our conversation today. I mean, what do you think? Would you welcome Joel Embiid into the French national team with open arms, or would you be a little bit Evan Fournier about the whole, well, has he even fucking been to France thing? Let us know in the comments. As always, thanks to BasketNews.com, thanks to Aridonas, and thanks to each and every one of you. Peace, love, and happiness, and stay loving basketball.
Bye.
Bye-bye.